Hello guys, first of all I welcome you all to this interview question series. So we are seeing some of the important interview questions related to Python, and the last few sets we are doing the interview question with respect to the coding aspects, right? And we are continuing with that trend in this set as well. Okay, so let's get started. The first question of the today's session is that how to create the NumPy array of evenly spaced values between a given range. Okay, so first of all, in these sets we are trying to focus with respect to the libraries we have, such as NumPy, Pandas. Okay, so with respect to that we have some important interview questions, and the first question is to create the evenly spaced values between the range. Okay, so it's a pretty simple questions we have. First of all, you want to just import whatever the required libraries we have. So we all know, right? So from import pandas as pd, import numpy as np, something like that. Okay, so I have already done that, so I am directly go towards the writing the solution for this question. Okay, so let me just create variable array, right? And I am just harnessing the power of np dot arrange method. I am just giving the range something like from 10 to 100, right? I want the values with the spacing of 5, and we call this in the technical terms as a step. Okay, step. Let me just go here and try to execute that code cell. Okay, let me just again print whatever the array I have, and you will get all those value between the 10 to 100 evenly spaced with respect to the 5. So 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, something like that. Clear guys? So in this question they are trying to analyze how well you are aware about the inbuilt functionality with respect to the modules NumPy and Pandas we have. Clear guys? Okay, so another thing is that so end value, whatever the 100 we have, the end value is something like end minus 1. So it not exactly the 100, but it is the 99 only. That's why we will get 95, not 100. Clear guys? Okay, so let's move forward to the other questions we have. Okay, for this sessions, how to create data frame from a list of list and the list of tuple. Okay, first of all, if you are following this interview question series, then you will know that we have already tackled similar kind of questions in the earlier sets, but there we created the data frame with respect to the dictionary, which is a key value pair. But right now, what if they ask you to create the data frame with respect to the list of lists, which is called as a nested list or list of tuples we have. So if I have such a kind of requirement, then I can go towards the other concepts. So let me do one thing here. Let me just create those things. So let me just create one variable data, and the data variable contains the nested list. Okay, nested lists we have. So in the data we have some nested lists are there, and nested list consists of some objects such as 1 comma name, something like Alice, right? And we have something like their marks, something like 88. Okay, and we can just do similar kind of things for second row to Bob, right? And we can also take its mark, something like 90, right? We can also have the third row, right, which is something like Charlie, and his mark something like 92. We can take anything, you can take anything. And this is how the list of lists are created. I want to create the data frame using those data, right? Using those data. Let me just first execute the code cell I have. Okay, so data is created. Right now let me just create the data frame. So data frame should be initialized with the variable df is equals to pd dot data frame, right? And after that I'm passing whatever the data I have, so data variable, and we can just pass another argument which is called columns, right? And in that columns I can specify the name of columns. So the first column I have which is named as id, second column I have which is named as name, and third column we have which is something like marks. Clear? So this is how I have created the data frame. Let me just execute that code cell. So data frame is created. Let me see whatever the result I got. So you can see that I have created a data frame with 3 columns. Clear guys? This is how we can just employ the nested list approach to create the data frame. So same thing is there, but what if I get the data instead of nested list, we will get the data in the form of tuples. the same approach is there, same code is there. So let me just write those code as well. So let me just add some few code cells here. Okay, so again I just creating the data as my variable name, right? And in the form of list I'll get the tuples. Okay, I'll get the tuples, and in the tuples something like I'll take 1 comma name, I'll list something like that, right? So this is how we can just employ the approach. So I can take the 3 rows for my next data frame, right? I'm just taking a different name, Bob and Charlie. Okay, so data is ready, guys. Let me create a data frame. Okay, let me just create a data frame. Df is equals to pd dot data frame, right? And I'm just passing whatever the data I have, and we can just pass the column names as well. So let me just the column name something like column is id. Okay, let me just alter the values of id as well, 1 2 and 3. Great, let me just again execute the code cell, right? So id is there, and we have something like name is there, something like that. So we have only 2 columns are there. Let me just execute. The data frame is ready, guys. Okay, let me just see how it look like. So this is how it look like. So we can employ the same approach for the list of list or the list of tuples. Clear, guys? Okay, so let's just move towards the other questions we have. How to handle the missing data in the pandas data frame. Okay, and it's a pretty important question you have if you are going for the data analytics interview. So this question might be pop up in the interview. Clear? So there are various approaches. So and it is depend upon your level of experience or level of knowledge. You can just handle this question in the different aspects. So there are multiple ways to handle the null value. So basically we will just first discuss about what is null value. Okay, so what is null values? Absence of records. Okay, absence of record is considered as a null value. And if I have the null value, then we cannot do any analysis. Or if I wanted to do analysis with respect to the null values, or if I have the null values, then the analysis might not be a correct one. So that's why it is pretty important in the exploratory data analysis that we have to handle those null values. So how can I handle those null values? So okay, first of all, let me just create some dummy data. Data is equals to, right, dummy data and its corresponding data frame, right? So let me just take np.nn. So it's a null value I have right now. So let me just take 10 and 20. You can take any values, guys. Okay, you can take any values, whatever you want. So it's just a dummy data I have just to explore the some of the stuffs. How can I handle the null values? I explicitly mentioned some null values in my data set. Okay, so this is how we can just have the null values with respect to my data. So we can take 101, the second row 102 and 103, right, 103, and in the last column I have, so let me just take any values, 100, and then we can take the 200, and the last value is null. Clear? The data is ready, guys. Let me just execute my code cell. Okay, right now I wanted to create the data frame out of it. So we have already seen how to create those things. So pd dot data frame, right, and passing those data right now, data variable right now, and we can just mention whatever the columns I required, column names I required. So let me just go here and mention the column names here. So first column is something like id, second column something like we can take quantity as well. You can take anything, right, guys? You can take anything, quantity as well, and we can take the price as well, right? So let me just execute. Data frame is ready, guys. Okay, data frame is, let me just look whatever the data frame I got right now. Okay, I have some data frame right now, and in that data frame I have some null values. In the first row and first column I have some null values. In the third row and third column I have some null values. Okay, so there are many approaches. We will talk about the 3 approaches, how to handle those null values, and we can you can employ these 3 approach answering this question in the interview. So first approach is that we can just directly drop the null values. Okay, we can just directly drop the null values, and it's also a valid approach, because if I have the null value which is in terms of percentage which is less, like less than 1%, less than 0.5%, then it is not very important to have those things into the data set and handle those null values, so we can just directly drop it. For that we have some method is there, so I just created new variable which is called as new df, right? And in the new df I am just creating whatever the transformation I wanted to do with respect to my default data frame. So df dot drop na is method, and drop na will just directly drop whatever the null values we have. Also remember that drop na is it will drop entire row. Means what? If I have the null values in the first row and first column, it will drop entire first row, right? So the data corresponding that row with the other columns will be also be deleted. So this is the crucial consideration you have with respect to dealing with the and dropping with the null values. So let me just print out whatever the new df I have. So you can see that only this only the second row I'll get with respect to my data. Okay, so instead of dropping the things, there are much smarter approaches are there, something like forward fill and backward fill. Okay, so we can also generate this new df, right? So new df is equals to df dot, the name of the method is forward fill, f fill, right? F fill is there, and let me just see how it works. Okay, how it works. Let me just create the new df here right now. Let me execute those things. So you can see that the forward fill method will works on the forward filling process. Means what? It will check if it is the null value is present. Okay, so it is a null value is present in the first row and first column, and it will check before it, is there any valid value is there. If it is there, then it will impute that null value with respect to the corresponding valid value. But what happened with the first row and the first column case, there is not any record with respect to corresponding of the first rows, that's why it wouldn't handle those null values. But in case of the last third rows and third column value which is null, which is imputed with respect to the corresponding valid values. So this is how the forward fill works. So same as the forward fill, we also have the backward fill is there, right? Backward fill is there. Let me just employ the backward fill approach as well. B fill is there. Let me just execute whatever the method I have right now. So here you can see this first row first column null value will be handled, but not the last one. The same reason is there. So whatever I have explained earlier, the same reason is there for handling those things. Clear? There are multiple approaches are there. You can impute the null value with respect to any of the mean, median, mode, whatever the your data understanding is there, or we can just employ the various algorithms as well, such as KNN imputer is there. So there are many approaches are there, and depending on your knowledge you can just set any of the approaches you have. Clear guys? This is how we can just handle the null values in the data set we have, right? So let's just move forward toward the other questions we have for the session. So how to select the rows and columns from the pandas data frame using the lock and ilog method. Okay, so it's a pretty simple thing we have. Let me just create some data, right? So the same data is here. Instead of creating it manually, let me just copy these things from the above code. So I have already have some data right now, so I already created some valid data with respect to me. Okay, so these are the data I have. Let me just scroll it down a bit, and let me just put it here, those data, and also put it the data frame creation as well. Okay, so let me just put the data creation as well. So this is the data frame creation I have right now. Okay, so I have that code already with me, so let me just execute those things. So df is created guys. Okay, so df is created right now. I just wanted to see some of the slicing values. So slicing I wanted to do with respect to my data frame, then I have a various approaches. So those approaches are something like lock and ilog. So ilog is a integer based locations, and log is a label based locations we have. So what exactly this means, let me just go here. Okay, so I wanted to create the slice of this data, whatever the small data I have right now with me. So I wanted to create that slice of a data. So what I trying to do is that, let me just df dot ilog, and I can specify how many rows I want, comma how many columns I want. So how can I specify the rows and columns? So let's suppose I want the first two rows, right? So we can specify with respect to the slice operator we have into the pandas pandas data frame. So sorry, pandas. Okay, so what I can do here is that let me just create the, I want from 0 to end minus 1. The first row is there, so something like 3 minus, let me just take 2 minus 1. Okay, 2 minus 1 is 1, so it will take the 0 to 1 as my rows, and I want all the columns right now. Let me just take this one as well, right? So if I just go here, I get the first 2 rows. Okay, so this is how the iLock method will work. So how the lock method will work here? So lock is something like an position based or label based thing. Let me just go here. So I want first 2 rows and I want some columns specified with respect to the label names, right? Specified with respect to the label name. Instead of in the list, I can specify the label names here. I want ID and I want marks only. These fields are required, right? Let me just execute right now. I am getting those ID and marks. Okay, so let me just, so numeric. Okay, so iLock is not there, this is the lock. Okay, so let me just again execute those stuff. Okay, so I'm getting those stuff ready. Clear, guys? So this is how lock and iLock method work, which is a position based indexing or label based indexing you have. Clear? Okay, so last question for the sessions we have for you have. So first of all, how to perform the element wise operation in the NumPy array. How to perform the element wise operation in the NumPy array. So if you are aware about the difference between the something like list and array we have, then you can tackle these questions. So let me just create one array here. So array is there, np dot array, and I'm just taking some values here. Okay, 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 as well, right? So 5 values I have there. So array is created, right? So I wanted to double the values into the array. So simply you can take here array multiplied by 2. So inherently NumPy array will do the element wise operation. If you know these things, then you can tackle those questions. So it's a bit of a trick question you have asking in the different way. So you can see that there is a element will be doubling of element is there. So what if I just have the list? So it is the same behavior with respect to the list we have? No. So if I just created the list, right, same elements, and I just wanted to do this kind of thing, list into 2. So let's just look how it will works. So you can see that each object will be there 2 times. So 1 is happening 2 times, 2 is happening 2 times, something like that, but not element wise operations. So this is the basic difference between the list and array we have, and we have a many differences that are there with respect to the list and array, and it's a very important interview question for you guys if you are going with respect to the data science interviews. Clear, guys? So this is all the questions we have for the day, right? And we will meet with the other interview questions, right? We will meet with the other interview questions we have. Till then, have a nice day.